Hey everyone, it's OPPS. Today I'm going to show you how I made this sample. It's going to be my upcoming free sample library I'm dropping on my Instagram. So make sure to keep updated on that. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so this sample has 5 main elements. We have these pads right here. We have these textures and accents, bass, these vocals that I added, and then these textures or these percussion loops and percussion elements. First, we're going to start with these pads. Here are the chords that I use on pretty much every pad sound. They're basically just 7th chords with inversions. For example, this is a C minor 7th chord. I just moved this G and this D sharp up an octave. For the first sound, we have this. Basically on this sound, I just added a bunch of EQ. For example, this band pass, another EQ here driven out some of the mids, and then another EQ here driven out this annoying frequency. This is our next pad sound. For these effects, I add a simple EQ and then just use a fruity chorus on the default preset. I just turn the mix down a little bit. For our last pad sound, we have this. For this pad, I added another EQ, some magic switch, turned the mix down a little bit though, and some ambient. This is a really good free reverb. I just turned the mix down a lot because it's really strong. My biggest tip for pads is to find 3 or 4 good sounds. Just fill up space. That way you have a good start for the rest of the sample. Moving on, we have these 2 accents that work really well together that just hit on the 1 and the 3. For both of these accents, I added pretty much the same effects. Just some strong EQ, some reverb, and then some pancake to move it out of the center. For both textures and accents, I used pretty much the same effect rack. Just some strong EQ, some reverb, and some pancake to move it out of the center. Also another EQ to clean up some frequencies. Last, we have a bass. For this bass, I really had no effects. I tried to put some Blood Overdrive. This is a great plugin, by the way, for free. That's stock with FL, but I just turned it off. I didn't really need it for this sample. Also notice how I use the stereo imaging on all these sounds just to give each sound its own space and then kind of fill the frequency board up a little bit more. Now we have some vocals that I actually recorded myself. I had some really cool effects on them, so I'll show you that in a little bit. So I'm going to go through so you can copy the effect chain. But basically what I did is I recorded these vocals, form and shifted them down, and then put this effect chain on them. I also want to warn you though that every vocal kind of needs its own touch, so make sure to tweak these settings to your own voice. For the last part of the sample, I just added these percussion loops and fills just to give it more bounce. For this fill in the end right here, I just have this volume automation. I also added this small impact on the 1 to give it more emphasis. For the effects on the percussion loop, I just added an EQ and this one stereo shaper. I'm a big fan of this preset in the stereo shaper. It kind of gets percussion and accents out of the way of the main instruments. Another big tip I would emphasize is to cut off certain parts of the sample to give certain elements more emphasis. Like I did right here, it gives a vocal time to breathe and builds anticipation for when the instruments come back in. With all those 5 elements, we have this. Thanks for watching the whole video. Make sure to leave any comments below if you want me to cover anything more deeply. Be sure to follow my Instagram to keep up with any kits I post. My DM is always open for questions.